Okay, disclaimer. I don't really own anything in this video right now. The original video will be linked down below if you want to check it out for yourself. Go support Death Battle for making these videos, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Roll the intro and let's get into it.
I'ma do this to them till they murder me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Death Battle has returned.
Garmadon is back!
God, it's been so long since I reacted to Death Battle. This should be a good one.
Yeah. Ant-Man versus the Atom. Who am I betting on? I don't fucking know. No. I'm probably gonna go with Ant-Man with this, though, to be honest, it's probably very close. I mean, the Atom might win, but I don't freaking know who's gonna win this shit. Oh. Ant-Man versus Atom. Let's see what...
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp and Mint Mobile.
Thank you, Ben Singer. Now let's raise up the...
Ant-Man, Marvel's founding member of the Avengers.
Hell yeah.
The Atom, DC's legendary Mighty Might.
Good
Oh,
things
hell.
come in small packages.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
We're just trying to get these out of the way.
He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor,
Well,
and skills to
At
find out
least
who
you
will
guys are
win
being
a
honest
death battle.
with the puns. And the quotes.
Did you know that ants can lift 50 times their own body weight? That'd be like if you lifted a car straight over your head.
I did, thanks to my fun fact of the day
Wow.
calendar. Also, Hawaiian pizza was invented in Canada yesterday.
Well, I bet your calendar didn't tell you that Dr. Henry Pym, aka Hank, was considered a genius at a very early age.
So,
By
you
3
guys
years
ate
old, doctors
Hawaiian
declared that he
pizza?
was smarter
Blame
than
Canada.
both his parents combined.
He eventually majored in biochemistry and became one of the most successful scientists in his field. He had big ideas about shrinking the size of cargo to reduce shipping costs. Ah, logistics.
All of which made him a laughingstock in the scientific community and sparked a long-lasting insecurity and need to prove himself.
Oh, wow.
But he did it! He developed a working serum! He went from laughing stock to Christmas stocking! The much better stock, right behind Bean and Live.
So, naturally,
Wow.
he tested the serum on himself, like any self-respecting scientist would,
I
and
bet
shrank
you
down
would
to
do
the
that,
size of an
Wiz.
ant.
And just when things started going south, a sweet little ant, let's call her Aunt Hathaway, swooped in
Aunt
and led Hank
Hathaway.
safely back to his lab where he could return to full size.
Well,
Hank
fuck
then
the
harnessed
name.
the serum and became the superhero Ant-Man.
Oh, hell
Along with
yeah,
his new
dude.
identity came a fascination in entomology, which makes total sense. Ants are fascinating.
Did you know that
Which
ants
is
can talk
probably
to
a
each other in a
thing.
bunch of different ways? Through touch, sound, or even sharing information by barfing at each other.
It's actually called
Barf.
trophallaxis, and they're not barfing per se. It's more like passing food mouth to mouth.
Gross!
That sounds-
Hank figured out how
that
to
sounds
communicate
worse.
with his new pets, not by barfing, but by creating a cybernetic helmet that mirrors an ant's antenna. And he's even developed genuine relationships with some ants, like Ulysses'
Yeah.
ant here.
But he didn't stop there.
You know.
Hank developed a lot of amazing tech like a stinger pistol that focuses his bioenergy into a stun beam
imagine
and
being able to
image-inducing
shrink down
camouflage
the
to
size
mask
of an
himself
ant
as an ant. It worked so
and
well it fooled Reed
actually,
Richards, the smartest guy on the planet.
He also
Fuck.
built a suit that runs
Be
on
friends
that
with
nifty
that.
serum he made back in his lab. It lets him shrink thanks to the newly discovered Pym particles, named after himself. Ah, classic Hank.
And the Pym particle is the
A
key to
classic
unlonking the fundamental
scientist.
constants
Name
of the quantum
everything
mechanics
after
at
my
play here.
name.
They enable you
It
to
will
decrease the
be the
distance
greatest
between
in the
atoms.
world.
However, in order to do that, he'd have to change the Bohr radius, the ratio of electron mass to the distance the electrons orbit an atom's nucleus.
Well, of course. Like how when you make a bagel pizza, you can't fit the whole pizza on the bagel. Believe me, I've tried. It's too small. You just gotta put less on.
Sure, Boomstick. So the Pym particles are actually displacing mass to an alternate dimension in order to maintain that ratio.
Oh, it's like having a second bagel to put the rest of your pizza on. I get it.
But if that were true, he shouldn't be able to punch with full-size strength if he has less mass.
And he's definitely lighter, because otherwise he'd crush the sweet ants he rides, like Vincent Van Gogh here.
His mass is being replaced with massless neutrinos, but that doesn't adequately explain how he can have less mass and seemingly more mass at the same time.
Sure it does, Wiz. Trust Pym and his particles. Look at the guy. He's
Hello,
explaining the whole
probably.
thing while wearing a lab coat. What's more trustworthy than that? You're the exception.
You think you understand this?
Oh, of course. He's small but strong. You said something about a boar, so I guess you wanted ham on that pizza, but I already made the pizza.
Will you take that coat off?
No. Oh,
Come on.
Regardless, there is virtually no limit to Hank's
was
ability to
so
shrink. He can go beyond subatomic down to the underspace,
Okay.
a plane of existence below
Okay.
all realities in the
So
Marvel
basically,
universe.
Boomstick is mocking
and Hank
Wiz.
has literally changed his
Classic
biology.
Boomstick.
He's rewritten his
Mock
own
his
chemical
own
makeup
friend.
to prevent anyone else from changing his size. And he's used Pym particles so much, he's now got an energy field around
You know,
him that lets him change the
kinda
size
like
of
the
people or
interaction
objects on the
with Wiz
fly,
and
or
Boomstick.
touch, or by straight up firing
You know, the
Pym
kind of
particles in
friends
the air.
who
He's
know
never
how to
shy about using them
exchange,
either.
like,
He eventually supplied his wife,
jokes,
Janet Van Dyne, with some Pym
back
tech to become the
and
Wasp,
forth
his
between
partner in
each other.
crime fighting.
The two ended up rubbing shoulders with A-listers like Thor, Iron Man, and the Hulk to take down Loki. Ant-Man and the Wasp were actually the ones that captured him and pitched the idea of forming the Avengers.
Unfortunately, Hank's insecurities started to creep back in, and he felt that if he wanted to keep up with the big heroes, he was going to have to think bigger.
Enter a bunch of those Pym-powered alter egos like Yellow Jacket and Giant Man, where he can grow anywhere from 12 feet tall to so big he can enter the overspace, the polar opposite of the underspace.
There he met Eternity, who called him Earth's Scientist Supreme. Something he won't let you forget.
Hank pushed himself to these insane
Oh,
heights,
you
even
are-
though he knew the strain on his body could be fatal.
But he simply didn't care and kept pushing himself. Thus, his greatest and worst creation was born. Ultron.
Yep, all the Tin Man Tron was created by Hank, not Tony like the movies. But the mass murder butt thing turned out pretty much the same. Big swing and a miss there.
The fallout from Ultron left
swung
Hank in a
and you
bad
missed.
place, to say the least. His guilt made him feel like an utter failure, and that his best work was behind him. This led Hank to do unspeakable things.
A real low-life move. And even though poor mental health doesn't excuse this behavior, it was clear that Hank needed help. He suffered multiple mental breakdowns, endured the physical toll of the Pym particles, and had bipolar disorder that went undiagnosed for years.
So Hank finally did the
Ooh.
best thing he could. He
Things got
acknowledged his
dark.
problems, got the help he needed, and committed to self-improvement.
And with that help, Hank slowly started making things right. He rebuilt the West Coast Avengers, gave Scott Lang his blessing to become the second Ant-Man, and finally defeated Ultron.
He created a backdoor Trojan infiltration code to defeat Ultron that was so advanced it went on to replicate and evolve all on its own to create a new species made up of artificial intelligence.
They don't call him the god of modern AI for nothing. Hank has
Goddamn.
showed over and over again that he's an integral part of the Marvel Universe.
Not just by ways of his scientific contributions or victories in battle, but by proving that heroes come in all shapes and sizes.
That's why size manipulation counts.
This episode
baby.
is
Ray Palmer was born your average human-sized person. He grew up in the Northeast, studied physics at Ivy University, and did everything Mama and Papa Palmer told him to do. Probably.
Everything
You
was
know-
pretty typical for Ray until one fateful night when he took a walk to take his mind off a frustrating experiment and saw a meteor fall from the sky.
No, I just
He ran
feel
off to the
like,
crash and found himself a life-changing piece of a white dwarf star,
I know.
and immediately started messing around with it. Who wouldn't?
Because
He discovered that he could focus ultraviolet rays through it and shrink inanimate objects. There was just one problem. When he shrunk things, they exploded. Every time.
I do not see the problem. Sounds like he found a foolproof way of blowing stuff up. Case closed.
Ray was determined to figure out how to shrink
Don't
objects
let
without
terrorists
blowing
hear
them up.
this.
But first, he went on a hike with his nature club. And as a fellow scientist, I have to question his priorities.
But hey, it seems to work for him. I support it. Different hikes for different mics, am I right?
While in a cave, the ceiling suddenly collapsed, trapping everyone inside. After searching high and low for another exit, Ray found a small opening and had an idea. He could try to shrink himself down and get help, even if it meant he might explode before he got the chance.
We'll see how
But
that
he didn't
turns out.
explode. I hope this story has a happy ending at least.
Perplexed,
You know.
Ray determined there must have been something special about him that made him uniquely immune to the explosive fate. Something super scientifically convenient that we never get any more information on.
So he got to work and created himself a suit
Yeah,
to
'cause
harness
who
the
cares
power of the
about how
White Dwarf
shit
star
goes?
and became
It be-
the Atom.
Adam uses the white dwarf
Because,
fragment
you know,
to
who the
decrease his
fuck
size
cares,
while having
you know?
control over his density,
It's like,
which makes a lot of sense
who
considering that
cares?
white dwarfs have the mass of a star, like the sun, but their
Yeah.
volume is more like the Earth's, making them among the densest objects in space.
Damn, boy.
Just a teaspoon of the stuff could weigh up to 100 tons. That's one strong spoon.
When Adam shrinks and shifts his weight, he's actually sending his extra mass to a dimension called the mass zone.
Where Adam could maybe live forever. At one point, Ray's apprentice Ryan Choi
What
was
the
murdered by
fuck?
Deathstroke, but willed some of his mass to the mass zone and was able to survive in that dimension. So these guys can potentially cheat death, but would be stuck there without any outside help.
Plot armor!
From one scientist to another, what's most impressive
You know.
is Ray's creation of the Bio Belt.
Fuck.
That's what allows Adam to use the power of the white dwarf and shrink while maintaining any weight, from immaterial to his full 180 pounds. There's even been times where it's stated that he was able to become almost as dense as a white dwarf star itself for a few seconds.
The belt is also how he can travel through phone lines or through the air on currents or light beams. Over time, Ray has spread out the white dwarf power to other parts of
What
his
else did he
suit,
call
and now
the
the
atom?
bio belt acts as a utility belt for his shrunken weapons and tech. It also prevents his size or mass from being altered by any outside forces.
And while he can only increase his size back to his natural 6 feet in height, his ability to shrink is near limitless. He can travel between subatomic space to the microverse, the foundation of all reality in the DC universe, where atoms become the size of planets.
Typically, he can increase back to his
Because
normal size with such force he can smash
comics!
through diamonds. So if Adam increases his size too much while still within the microverse, he could blow up the entire fabric of reality from the inside out.
Shrinking down to that size means that he can shrink small enough to rearrange atoms themselves.
Yep, Ray can take individual molecules and rapidly expand them to cook up a small nuclear blast in the palm of his hand. Oh, Ray Palmer. I just got that.
He also once disarmed a bomb by rearranging its atoms. At that size, he can move at the velocity of light. So fast and so randomly, he basically acted as a barrier between any and all possible atom combinations. But come on, there's no scientific explanation here for him to have superhuman senses or awareness to comprehend being everywhere at the same time.
I just like
It
he
makes
has
total
a
sense.
pizza in
If
his
you're small
pocket,
enough, you can
honestly.
fit in almost everything, everywhere, all at once. Like how you can fit an entire pizza into a calzone, and then you have a whole pizza everywhere inside the calzone. Man, I get it. Science is pizza.
No! Science is all I have! Why are you doing this to me?
On top of all of Ray's amazing inventions and abilities, he's also got some more classic weapons like a laser blaster and a frickin' sword he used to fight a giant crocodile. Relative to his size.
That was when Ray was believed to be dead, but was actually just stuck at 6 inches tall and stranded in the Amazon rainforest, where he encountered an alien race known as the Catarthans.
And get this, he ended up leading a rebellion against their tyrant king and became the ruler of all the Kardashians.
And his heroism didn't stop there. The Atom was a very well-respected hero, and was even asked to join the Justice League of America shortly after it was formed.
He fought alongside Batman and his best bud, Hawkman. And you don't fight with those guys without picking up a thing or two.
Impressive combat skills aside, Adam's greatest contribution to the legendary team was always his incredible mind.
He once created kryptonite inside of Superman by realizing that if he gathered up enough Kryptonian protons, they would eventually become radioactive.
While stranded in limbo, Adam realized that if the
How the
Flash
fuck
sped
does
up the
that
rate
work?
of a nuclear reaction's stellar evolution to exhaust its core, they could turn a fire demon into a black hole and use it as a wormhole to get back to Earth.
He's a brilliant, hard-working, and determined scientist that never stops working on a problem until he's found a solution. I mean, if I figured out how to blow stuff up as well as he did, I would have stopped right there. I'm the hero that blows stuff up. Wouldn't even need to change my name.
Ray Palmer lived the dream, going from
Boom
research scientist
stick!
to legendary superhero. He picked up the pieces presented to him and built something greater than the sum of its parts.
Who knew this tiny titan with massive brains would have just as much brawn to back it up?
All right, the combatants are set, and we've run the data through all possibilities.
Anyways,
It's time for a death battle!
Oh yeah, the ending to Adams felt a bit abrupted, but it's like the inflection was so off.
You should pick on someone your own size, relatively speaking.
How did you do this? It's laced with a particle I've never seen before.
They're called Pym particles, and I'm Hank Pym, Scientist Supreme. You should have knocked.
Hold on. Why would you fight because of that? God, that's so stupid, but whatever. Okay, that was a bit.
You're using pieces of a white dwarf star? That's cute.
Everything we needed already existed. You just needed to be smart enough to put the pieces together. Scientist Supreme?
Did you know that at any given moment, there are about 2.5 million ants under your feet?
I mean, that makes sense, but why are you bringing that up right now?
This was literally the sneak peek. This. Brad just straight up takes out a spoon and kills the fucking thing.
Took you long
There
enough.
you go.
Okay, let's try this. I'll hack his belt. You lay low and let me know what you find. Huh?
Nice try.
Oh yeah, bring up pew pew.
Search every electron path in his gun and study their probability wave functions. I just might be able to!
What's happening? He must be reaching his limit. If we don't get out of here quick, he's gonna destroy all of reality. Now, my pets! You have your tricks and your tools, but I created something beyond the limits of human existence. I operate on a scale you can't even comprehend.
How?
You can't be afraid to think big.
Oh my god, that's what the fuck did I just saw?
KO!
Ant-Man and Adam both had many answers to each other's abilities and arsenals. Both were able to
Perfect,
store
don't
various
count another
weapons
one.
at a shrunken state, both were trained in judo, and they both could obviously keep up with each other's ability to shrink at will.
Though there was one small thing Adam couldn't answer to: the ants! Hank's bond with his pets lent him some small advantages, and Ray just didn't have enough anti-ant tools in his bio belt.
But in Adam's defense, the fact that he could punch with a fist packed with all of his mass meant that a close-up fight, while small, would leave Hank with few options since he can only punch with his normal human strength.
Even still, all Ant-Man would need to do is keep his dissed ants with the help of his insect confidants and devise another plan of ant attack.
Are you really?
Something Hank has no shortage of.
For instance, Ant-Man could alter
Really?
Adam's size thanks to the Pym particle field he
Ants?
generates. Hank would just need to
Ant
stall
bugs.
long enough to remove or disable Adam's bio belt, and he's had no trouble hacking enemy tech in the past.
But even with the bio belt busted, it wouldn't stop Adam's ability to shrink, since the white dwarf power is contained throughout his suit. Destroying the belt only meant that Ant-Man could alter Adam's size.
Whereas Hank has literally rewritten his own biology to prevent outside size alteration. And while Adam's abilities are definitely impressive, they are limited, and Ant-Man simply aren't, at least by comparison. Hank could always match Ray's size or just take the fight to the overspace where he would have the edge, both physically and mentally.
The overspace can mess with the human mind, but we've seen that Hank can handle it.
But if the Scientist Supreme is really so smart, why didn't he just immediately go up Adam's butt and blow him up from the inside?
Ugh, what's wrong with you, Wiz? Aren't you a fellow man of science?
This is the meanest thing you've ever done to me.
Adam sized up Ant-Man, but in the end, he was the one who had to say, Uncle.
The winner is Ant-Man.
Oh, fuck. Fucking hell.
Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We have a new Death Battle releasing every 2 weeks this year.
was
And click the
kind
join
of-
button to get new perks and extra content. Planet level members even see Death Battles before anyone else, so don't miss out.
What is this? You're fucking joking. Alright, so that was Ant-Man versus the Atom. What did I think of it? You know, it's just, yeah, I'm gonna gather up my thoughts on what I just witnessed, and hopefully I'll see you all, later. Bye. Okay, bro, what the fuck did you make me watch?